impacting the Mid-Atlantic and the East Coast. I am Dax Cochran, Director of Event Safety Solutions. I will be turning it over to Chris Kerr in a few minutes, who's going to give us an update on the current situation and what to expect. The one request I have is if anyone has any questions, we would love to get them, and we'll try to get to all of them. So just submit your question in the chat if possible, and then once we wrap up, we'll go through all of those and get those all answered. So without further ado, I will hand it over to Chris, and he can get started on getting us updated.
Thanks, Dax. So I'm going to start this webinar off. I'm going to outline the expected impacts for the Mid-Atlantic and the East Coast region, and then touch on the individual regions later on here in just a few minutes. So basically, in a nutshell, we are expecting a significant ice storm for parts of the Carolinas, which is actually occurring as we speak and is expected to continue through the rest of this afternoon and into this evening. In addition to that, we expect widespread power outages to occur due to the heavy ice load combined with very strong winds. And then moving on to the northeast up towards the DC area and Mid-Atlantic, we are expecting significant snowfall accumulations and blizzard conditions at times for much of Virginia, eastern West Virginia, and the western and northwestern suburbs of Washington, D.C., Philadelphia, parts of southern Pennsylvania, and also the New York City metro area. One thing about this storm is the snowfall is expected to be very heavy and moisture-laden. Therefore, some roof failures are certainly possible, especially in poorly constructed or older buildings or homes. And of course, with all the snow and combined with the very strong winds, we do expect some hazardous travel to occur throughout this weekend and possibly as late as early next week. So I want to touch on precipitation types real quick to kind of clear a little bit of that up. And some people may have questions, well, why is it freezing rain across the Carolinas, but further to the north across DC, Philadelphia, and New York, you're expecting snow? That's easily answered by this graphic here. What's occurring actually down in the Carolinas right now is there's a warm layer of air currently about 5,000 feet off the surface. That air is above freezing, and freezing precipitation is falling into that air. It's melting and then refreezing on contact with the ground and other elevated surfaces, which are either at freezing or below freezing. So that kind of explains why that is occurring in that area. As you go further to the north, up towards DC, in New York, and Philadelphia, the layer of air all the way up to the top of the atmosphere is below freezing, so therefore you'll receive snow. So I want to touch on the icing timeline. As I mentioned just a few minutes ago, icing is occurring right now over the Carolinas, especially northern, northwestern parts of South Carolina and parts of southern North Carolina and western North Carolina as well. This includes the Charlotte metro area, where we expect about a ½ inch to up to an inch of ice accumulation through this evening and into early tomorrow morning. Also, as mentioned earlier, very strong winds, gusting in excess of 35 miles an hour, will stress the power lines and trees, leading to what we think will be very widespread power outages in this area. Also, light snow will be possible later this evening into the overnight, complicating things a little bit in terms of travel. And then finally, tomorrow, we do expect temperatures to slowly rebound into the later part of the day tomorrow, and especially into Sunday, which should help facilitate some melting of the ice. And we also expect winds to relax as the storm system moves away from the region. The map on the screen right now shows ice accumulation probability of greater than ¼ inch. And as you can see, there's a bullseye pretty much right over Charlotte area, going back down into northwestern and northern South Carolina. So we're expecting a high probability of about 70 to 100% chance of that area receiving at least ¼ inch, if not more, of ice. And again, I mentioned power outages. Here's a rough idea of where we're expecting the power outages down in the Carolina regions, more because of ice and the wind. But as you get up through the Virginias and into the DC area and Philadelphia, and all the way even potentially up to the doorstep of the New York City metro area, Those power outages would be most likely related to snow load on trees, and the strong winds combined could help to bring that down, given that the snow will be very heavy and wet. And then now focusing on the snow timeline for some of the major metro areas that will be affected. Snow is occurring right now across Kentucky and Tennessee. Expect that to gradually end from south to north for the remainder of today and into Saturday morning. Some locations in this area could receive 10 to 18 inches of snow, but locally heavier amounts will be possible in the higher elevations and wherever the most intense snow bands set up. Snow will move into the Philadelphia metro area after about 6 p.m. Eastern tonight, and in this region we expect snowfall rates of 1 to 2 inches per hour. Total snowfall in this region, 12 to 18 inches. Locally heavier amounts will be possible wherever the most intense snow bands set up. And one of the interesting things about such a strong storm system as this is we are expecting there to be at least 1 or 2 or possibly even more intense snow bands that will set up. And forecasting those within about 12 to 18 hours is outside of 12 to 18 hours is fairly tricky. So there remains some uncertainty to where exactly the heaviest snow will set up. But that all being said, the most intense snow will likely occur in a very narrow band, and that should be a little clearer as we get later on in today, and especially into the morning hours tomorrow. And then for DC and Baltimore and northwestern Virginia, this has kind of been the bullseye for several days now. Still thinking that this will be the area that receives the most snow out of anywhere in the region from this event. Some snowfall rates of 2 inches per hour will be possible. And given that the instability is very strong with this over the region, we do expect some thunder snow to be possible, which would obviously enhance the snowfall rates. And so general estimation for total snowfall in this area would be about 18 to 30 inches. Locally heavier amounts will be possible in higher elevations, especially as you get west of DC into the Blue Ridge Mountains and wherever the most intense snow bands set up. And then finally, for New York City area, expecting snow to generally move in after about 9 p.m. Eastern. Again, snowfall rates 1 to 2 inches per hour possible. Total snowfall accumulations around 8 inches to just over a foot. However, locally heavier amounts will be possible, again, depending on where the most intense bands set up. I did want to mention that there's a bit of uncertainty regarding the total snowfall in this area, as depending on the exact track that the low takes, sometimes this area can kind of be in a tricky situation of whether they get a lot of snow or just miss the heavy snow or just miss it completely. But right now, I think 8 to 14 inches is a good estimation, all things taken into account. So, locations within 15 to 20 miles from each other could see drastically different snowfall accumulations. And then across everywhere that's getting the heavy snow, again, very strong winds will occur. So this will allow for blizzard or near blizzard conditions at almost all times. So significant blowing and drifting in the snow is expected, which will reduce visibilities, and then that will cause travel concerns all the way into early next week. And again, like the ice accumulation map, here's the snowfall accumulation probability of snowfall of greater than 8 inches occurring. So as you can see, the bullseye of the heaviest snow goes up from the western North Carolina into West Virginia and into Western Virginia. And keep in mind this is valid through 6 p.m. Eastern today. And as we get into tomorrow, you can see the axis of the heavy snow shifts to the north slightly and is more focused on West Virginia, southern Pennsylvania, much of Maryland, including D.C. and the D.C. suburbs and northern Virginia, and then creeping up towards the Philadelphia and New Jersey areas. This is our internal WRF model that we run here at WDT. This is valid through 6 a.m. Eastern on Sunday morning, giving kind of a general idea of where the heaviest snow amounts are expected to be. As you can see, what I mentioned earlier about the New York City area, we expect a very sharp cutoff. And again, this line of the heaviest snow could shift slightly to the north by 15 to 20 miles, give or take, and then or it could shift slightly more to the south by the same amount. So that all is just a general idea of where the heavy snow could be, but all things considered, even if New York City misses out on the brunt of the snow, we do still expect those blizzard conditions to occur. And then finally, I want to mention the snow load again, because the snow will be so moisture laden and so heavy that roof collapses again, and especially in poorly constructed or older either houses or commercial structures will be very susceptible to roof collapses due to the heavy snow load. And of course, most commercial buildings or schools have either very low sloped roofs or flat roofs. So obviously, snow tends to accumulate quicker on these roofs. So these are the most susceptible to that kind of damage. And then finally, there might be questions about how long will this last. Again, very cold temperatures will occur through the weekend. However, some relief is in sight in terms of temperatures as we get into Sunday, and then especially into Monday and then Tuesday. However, given that most locations will see significant snowfall of well over a foot, that snow melt should be slow to occur. So there could be snow on roofs and roads for quite a while into next week. So that's pretty much it. I'm going to toss it back to Dax, and he will touch on our IMAP Pro system here for us.
Perfect. Thank you, Chris. So for all of our customers, you should have access to this Commander portal that we utilize. This is going to allow you to customize all of the forecast products that are coming to your email, customize all of your alert settings to your email. There's also a companion mobile app. But the big thing for events like this is really Chris and his team complementing all of the technology solutions. They're working around the clock, 24/7, issuing alerts directly to mobile phones, touching on very specific areas with very specific guidance on what to expect for those local spots. Be sure you're monitoring your IMAP Pro. This is a really great way to just make sure you're keeping into the latest on where the precipitation is, where all of the alerts are for wherever your location may be. You can easily pull up any location they've identified and get the latest directly from the WeatherOps forecasters. If you're using the companion mobile app, you'll also be getting these alerts on your phone throughout the duration of this event. For anyone that is really not a customer of WDT, but you are interested in becoming one, you simply visit our website, www.wdtinc.com. Contact us through there, because we do support virtually every industry that would be concerned with this type of an event. I said we would go through any questions that have been submitted. I don't see any at the current time. So again, for all of our WeatherOps customers, just make sure that you've got your forecast customized to the triggers that you want them to be at through the duration of this event. Obviously, Chris's team will be working hard here, continuing to provide updates. The forecast desk is available should you have any questions directly for the forecast team. And other than that, everyone stay safe and have a great day.